Alright, here's a little continuation. I want to throw in a real interesting thing that I found out here. So I needed a float for this fuel sending unit. I think we got that far in the video. And it's actually a real simple deal that clips into that loop right there. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. So the float is it's either a brass or a plastic unit that looks like this. This is the first one I've seen that's actually half brass and half plastic, so you might run into that. All the others I've seen are either all brass or all plastic. And originally they had a cork one on them, but I found out, I think I said earlier, that the cork disintegrates in the new gasolines, and so you got to get a new updated one. So this tank's out of a 48 Chevy truck, and let me get this popped into place there. There you go, it's like that. And as I was trying to find this is going to be an interesting piece of information for a lot of people here, because that same float I found has been used in hundreds of different vehicles. So this is from my 48 Chevy. This is actually a 2-ton truck saddle tank. That it was the main tank that they used in those trucks. And so it was used in there. Here's what's interesting. This is the tank out of my 71 GMC truck that I just got from my grandpa. And it uses the same float. So there's an all brass float, an all brass version of that float. And so same thing, would directly interchange with the thing that I've got over there. Also, this is the sending unit out of the Crazy Dad bump side auxiliary saddle tank, and it uses the same float. I also found in my research that at least all the CJ Jeeps from the 60s and 70s used that float. So it was something that was in real common use at least through the 40s and in through the 1970s. So lots of different vehicles had it. So it should be real common, and you can find them online. Prices range. I did find one plastic one that with the shipping I could get it to my home for about $10. And they've ranged, I've seen them as high as like $35, I think, for the thing plus shipping. So you want to be careful and shop around. But what I did find is that CarQuest Auto Parts and what's their other brand? It's not AutoZone. It's oh geez, now I forgot. Anyway, the other brand that works with CarQuest. This is their part number for it, so it's an SW411290. I don't know what the SW is. That's Smith and Warner, or Stuart Warner, I mean. I don't know that for sure. But anyway, that number, you should be able to go to a CarQuest store and they should be able to find you one of them. And this thing ended up, it was like $10.69, I think, here at my local store. So anyway, that's just something you'll probably need to know at some point if you're doing very many old cars. But that's going to allow me now to get this wrapped up and put back together. So I wanted to pass that information on to you. Those floats, a lot of times they either come off or they rot away or any number of different things. And so depending on what vehicle you need or have, there's a fair chance that you may need one. So anyway, pass that along to you as I move forward here. This is going to allow me now to get gas in the rat rod and be able to get that part functioning again. So one more step closer as we move through the process here. Here's the next little project I got to tackle, getting this thing back on the road. You got this hole in the side of the cowl right there, and I've been using it as an access hole to work on things, but I've got everything fixed in there that I need to, so now I need to get that patched up. And so it's kind of a weird thing here. It's got, let's see, you got to come around that corner and into here, and then you got to curve around this way into a fairly flat area down here, and then you got a little bit of curve that comes out right here, but I think I can deal with that. So I don't think I can I don't have the equipment to bend up this and then that. So I went out looking around, and the main piece of sheet metal that I got laying around is an old fender from the Crazy Dad bump side that was dented up real bad. So I came into this area and cut that out. Cut out this piece right here because it had about the right bend in it, an angle for me to use to go in here. So I've trimmed it up, and I've got myself now a trim piece there that matches really nice, and I've done that combination of the grinder and my tin snips. I've got some holes drilled so I can put some spot welds in it, and then I'm going to weld it along the seam here and down below too, and that'll get that part in. And then I'm going to, with that out, I'm going to cut another piece that has this curve in it right here, so that we go around that way, and then I will spot weld it all the way down there and join those two together. And I think I can make that work and get myself a fairly decent patch in there. So I'm going to start in, and I'll get the welder out, and we'll get this piece welded in and take it from there. So we'll be back when we've got that done. Go. Got that piece welded in there, and got the joints all ground smooth on it. I don't know where that's focusing on. There we go. So we've got that fitted so it kind of does our rollover there. And then we took and got a piece out of that part of the fender because it had generally the right curvature there. And got it here trimmed up, and let's see, it's funny how hard it is to do things one-handed when you're trying to do all this stuff. But there we go, got that set in there, so that fills my gap up. Will give me something good to weld to, and then as I weld up that joint right there, that will fill it in and give it a little bit of the rounded curvature that we've got up in here. And it won't match perfectly, but if I was doing real body work on it, I could put a little bit of filler on that and we would have it all back in place. So all that's left now, I'm going to grind these up, get some bare metal on where all my weld joints are going to be, and grind down there a little more. So I've got some bare metal to work with, and then I'll get this baby welded in place, and I'll show you when we're at that point. Then I can take my handle off there and fill up that little hole too. But anyway, that's going to make a really nice patch right there. So that will be what I'll show you next here as I keep moving along. Alright, there it is. Got her tacked into place, and this is the kind of thing that you want to just do a little spot weld every inch and then fill in between. So I made 2 passes around that. I'm going to let it cool off. I got to go somewhere. I'll come back in the morning and finish welding that up a little bit at a time, and voila, we will have a nice patch on there that's pretty much matches the way it was. I doubt if it's perfect, but it's something that could definitely be bondoed up a little bit and made to work if I was going to actually get serious about it. But you know me, this is a rat rod and I'm going to leave it that way. So I'll give you a shot when we get all the finished welding done on it and show you what our end result looks like. Well, there we go. Got that patch all welded in there. You see, when you're doing this, I'm sure a lot of you know this, but you want to just do little tiny spot weld at a time. Maybe weld a 1/2 inch at the max as you're going around something like this. And that keeps things from warping as you're doing that. So anyway, got her welded in. Now I'll get on there with the grinder and clean it up just a little bit, and that'll be probably where we'll leave it. I don't know if I'll do anything else to that or not. We'll see. Might spray a little bit of primer on it just to keep it from rusting. But anyway, that solves that problem. Got that hole filled. So that'll keep the air from flowing through there when we don't want it to. If you're driving it on a cooler morning, probably wouldn't be any fun. Or if you happen to be out in the rain, I'm sure the front tires could kick water up in there before. But anyway, got that solved, and we're ready to wrap up. I'll grind it up a little bit, clean it up, and then I'll get back and show you the final product on it. Well, there it is. That's what it looks like after we got it all ground down and generally smoothed up. Again, I'm not shooting for perfect here, but that will solve my problem and have that big hole patched up. So now I'm going to try touching it up a little bit with some paint just to keep those welds from rusting really bad, and then we'll come back and see how that turned out. Alright, there it is, finished product. I took a little time and sprayed some paint on there kind of as a mixture, and it's got it completely camouflaged where it's actually got it hidden better than I thought it would. So because the paint on the body was a dark green of some kind, I had some green paint, so I sprayed that on. Then I misted satin black over it, and that was still not looking quite right, so I've got 2 different colors of red oxide primer that I've misted on there too, and it actually got that looking pretty decent, I think. Anyway, it is what it is. It's going to match the thing. And when my hood gets put down and is setting in the correct place, we will almost not be able to see it anyway. Yeah, you can see right there. It's got a little bit that sticks out from under there, but not bad. And if you're not looking for it, you're probably not going to see it. So there we go. I'm happy with that. The other little piece that I've been working on is one of the other final little things on my punch list, was a voltage reducer for the instrument cluster. So these gauges, and I've got it right there, the gauges run on they're actually 6-volt gauges, but they've got a 12 to 6-volt voltage reducer in there that needed to be put in. So I've got that wired in, and did a couple other little things that I needed to do in there. So my wiring's all taken care of. The only major thing I've got left before I tackle putting the engine together, or getting the engine ready to fire up, is the brakes. So I'm going to tear them apart, get some rebuild kits for the wheel cylinders and the front calipers, and I've got one of the brake rotors on the other side I've got to swap out, so I'm going to get that done, and we will be ready then to start monkeying with the motor. So that's what's next on the Crazy Dad Rat Rod. So I started into fixing the brakes here, trying to see what parts I was going to need, and turns out that both front calipers are bad, so I'm going to have to get new calipers. I can't rebuild those. And had a bad rotor on this side, which I knew. I had another spare one, but somehow water had gotten into the bearings, so the bearings were all bad. So I'm having to swap bearings and races over from one side to the other, and that sort of stuff. So that's kind of, I think, going to be the wrap up and the end of this video. I don't know, I may take that one apart and see what the grease looks like in it and re-grease it. But anyway, we'll get some of those parts ordered and get some new calipers here and probably some new wheel cylinders in the back, and then we'll be back on track for getting this thing ready to go. So that's where we're at now. I'm going to wrap this video up with that, and because watching me do the brake job is not going to be very exciting. So anyway, there you go. We'll be back and show you the next video as we work on getting the engine started.